Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon to all of you around the world. Today, I'm here with Dr. Diana Bakalova, and by the way, I'm Astrolada from Astrolada.com, and we're going to be talking about Neptune, difficult Neptune transits, difficult Neptune positions, what to do, remedies, how to overcome difficult positions of Neptune, because this is one of the planets that can really mess you up, especially us in the modern world that are always in a hurry, that always want material achievements, that always want real results, that we're being rewarded when we're motivated, when we're driven. And when Neptune comes, all this goes out the way, out of the window, as they say. And Dr. Diana Bakalova will walk us through each position of Neptune in the houses. Hi, Diana.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Lada.
Thank you for being here with us today. I'm very looking forward. People really love the previous one, what to do with difficult Saturn transits and Saturn positions, what to do with difficult Uranus positions. Guys, you can check those videos where we did with Diana for more information. And Diana is a PhD of psychology. She works constantly with clients, and she's also an astrologer for many years. So she combines both. She has an amazing psychological and predictive approach, and very practical approach also to astrology, not just psychological. And actually, she's doing a webinar. I'll be with her on all about Chiron, because so many people ask me about Chiron, and I know nothing about Chiron because I don't use it. But Diana has been working for many years with Chiron, the wounded healer. And on the 7th of September, guys, in a couple of months approximately, we're going to have a webinar. Grab your seat now. Everything about the Chiron in houses, in aspects, in transits, what it means, how to work with this wounded healer. And there's very little information on the internet about Chiron. And Diana is a specialist in Chiron. It's very psychological. It's very deep. I'm looking forward to learn about that. So now let's dive into Neptune now.
Okay, thank you, Lada, for all these kind words. And welcome to all of you that who are interested in Chiron to our webinar on the 7th of September. And now let's proceed with Neptune. Maybe first some important general information about all those who are not so well acquainted with Neptune and about its cycle. Because that will give us the opportunity to better understand the tips and remedies for difficult Neptune influences. Neptune is the symbol of sensitivity, idealism, compassion, faith, creativity and arts, imagination, intuition, chaos, mentality, and the unconscious. That's very important. Illusion also, escapist tendencies, addictions, and self-sacrifice. And Neptune, it's very important. It symbolizes also the path of least resistance, which means that people usually go the easiest possible way when we are talking about Neptune.
Well, what if your Neptune is perfectly aspected like mine? Should you choose the path of least resistance?
Yeah, it's usually maybe when we have exactly the soft aspects to Neptune aspects softly our personal planets, then we are more inclined to go to follow the path of least resistance. And when we have hard aspects, generally in our natal chart, usually people are more motivated. There is a inner struggle and some tension within that make us more competitive or more willing to counteract the negative Neptune influences. So the soft aspects sometimes are not so useful with Neptune.
Especially when it comes to indulging yourself, and you just don't have the motivation to change.
Yeah, that's usually
But you know, also with all my Neptune having only good aspects, things happen magically. Like I don't even have to make an effort. It's when Neptune is well aspected, it's kind of like almost like fairy tale, you know,
Yeah,
like a miracle help from the invisible worlds comes from you somehow.
it's very often when you have soft aspects between Neptune and Jupiter, as is the case with me and with many of my clients. It's almost like magic. Yeah, it's so easy sometimes. But when it's easy, the problem with easiness is that people are usually less anxious and less motivated to do things because
Mm-hmm.
it's just happen for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what is also important to say about Neptune and Neptune's influence is that people should not should keep in mind that when they have Neptune influences, they shouldn't cannot expect many rapid changes and unexpected events, external events with Neptune, because its influence is rather slow, deep, and more unconscious, and needs more time to come to our consciousness.
It's not like Uranus, bam.
Yeah, not like Mars and Uranus. So we need time. We need time to reflect, um, to dig deep into ourselves, to understand, to go to some spiritual path or something. But we need time to get the truth to our consciousness. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
guys, we
Yeah,
work.
I remember when I had a Neptune transit, and I've seen people, they get themselves in some fog or whatever. They don't realize what happened until the transit has finished, even a few years after that. I
Yeah,
was like, oh my God, where was I? I came back from like,
yeah. It's usually the case with Neptune that we usually realize what's going on when the transit is over.
And in the middle, you're in your own world. You see whatever you want in your own illusions, and no one can convince you of the opposite.
Exactly. That's the negative side. But let's see first the positive side of Neptune, because maybe most of people who listen to us know that Neptune now is in its own sign of Pisces, and that's since April 2011, and Neptune will be in Pisces until 2025. Uh,
Ooh.
yeah, till the end of March 2025. So these are 14 years, and Neptune usually needs approximately 14 years to go through one sign. So this comes to explain its more subtle and more collective influence than that of the personal planets such as the Sun, the Moon, and Mercury, Mars, and Venus, and even Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus. And you can imagine that Neptune needs approximately 168 years to make its full cycle through
Mhm.
all signs of the zodiac. Um, and so all people born from April 2011 to March until March 2025 will have Neptune at different degrees in Pisces. So what makes the position of Neptune more individualized, more individual, is not the sign of Neptune, but it's the house that it occupies in our natal chart, and also the house that it rules in our natal chart, and also the aspects that it forms to our personal planets, not
Mhm.
so much to our heavy or slower planets such as Pluto or Uranus.
Mm.
Yeah, because these are very collective influences. So what we should watch in our natal chart is the house, mainly the house where Neptune is located, and the house that it rules, and its aspect to our personal planets. On the positive side, Neptune in its own sign of Pisces can make us more intuitive, sensitive to others' needs and feelings, compassionate, and willing to help.
So you're saying that this generation that's being born now since 2011 to 2025, they're going to be more spiritual and compassionate generation on the whole.
I think so. Still, similarly to other influences of other slow planets, such as Saturn, Uranus, and Pluto, the influence of Neptune depends on our level of consciousness and our self-awareness, which means that the higher the level of our spiritual growth and self-awareness, the more positive our experiences with Neptune could be. So we should strive for spiritual growth. And it's common to have more problems with Neptune while we are younger. We are not so self-aware. We don't know so much about us and about our inner selves.
So we lose totally our identity as well when Neptune comes and get influenced by others, and you lose yourself in something.
You lose yourself, especially in the age of when you are a teenager, and gradually with experience, with spiritual growth, with deepening your self-understanding, you are supposed, at least, to to become better and better with handling Neptune's influences. And on the negative side, because we were talking about, I also forgot about the positive side of Neptune's influence, that we are also, especially with Neptune in Pisces, much more creative, artistic, dreamy, idealistic, devoted to people and causes. It can make us feel ecstatic and somehow fused with the universe.
Yeah, like to experience mystical experiences.
Yeah, to have some psychic and mystical experience. It's even typical for Neptune in the 12th house, if we have it in the natal chart, or transiting Neptune through the 12th house. But we'll see that later. Now, about the difficult side of the Neptune's influences. Actually, Neptune's influences are one of the most difficult planetary influences to handle, because Neptune makes us too idealistic, and we tend to believe things that are not true, actually. We usually are unable to see and accept the reality of things, of people, of our relationships as they are. Moreover, Neptune may lower our ego defenses, which means that it may make us feel somehow unworthy or self-sacrificing, confused and lost, or discouraged and defeated.
And it's almost like people say when they're having Neptune transit to their personal planets or to the sun, they say like, no matter what I try, nothing works out like I plan. And it's like, it's out of my control. You feel like you're at the sea, at the mercy of the ocean with a little boat without any motor or without any sails. So you're there in the ocean, you're being swept, whatever. You have to go with the flow. It's very, you can't battle with those powers of Neptune.
And moreover, it can make us feel like babies, and that others should take care of us. That's very
victim state.
Yeah. And Also, it's very important to remember that Neptune can often dissolve what Saturn has built. If we had Saturn, let's say, conjunct or conjunct our Sun or a Moon or Mars or Venus, whatever, and we have or square all these personal planets or even opposition. It doesn't matter that these are difficult aspects or trine or sextile as soft aspects. No matter if we have built something due to Saturn, to any Saturn influence, there is a, huge possibility that we this what we have built would be dissolved by Neptune. And at the same time, we may deny our ego and feel responsible and guilty for all mistakes, including for mistakes of other people.
Oh, the guilt trip of Neptune. Yes. And others can make us very easily feel guilty as well.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's why Neptune often can lead us to depression. Neptune is one of the planets when if it has difficult aspects to some of our personal planets, it can, or even to Saturn, it can we can experience a kind of depressed, miserable feelings.
Mhm.
And let's proceed to the remedies. Um, First, the first thing that we should know is that the Neptune's day is Friday.
Oh,
Uh,
like Venus.
yeah, like Venus, because maybe you know that Neptune is considered the higher octave of Venus.
Octave of Venus. Yeah.
Oh, because it's discovered late recently. I mean, in the end of the last century. So the same day as the Venus day was assigned to Neptune as well. So we would better begin and practice any remedies for difficult Neptune influences on Friday and on waxing moon.
Growing moon. Yeah,
Grow,
waxing.
yeah, when the moon grows bigger.
Mhm.
So I'll give you some remedies first that are, or tips that are one may apply to all difficult Neptune influences. Uh,
Transits in your birth chart as well.
yeah,
Doesn't matter.
to transiting to natal Neptune and to transiting Neptune, whatever the house or the sign or the aspects. So these common remedies, maybe, for example, people should try to be compassionate and empathetic to their surrounding, but still they should set limits for themselves and do not follow the path of least resistance, and set limits for their ego, which means to try to identify themselves from the other people, not to become too dependent on someone else or allow someone else to become dependent on them.
Mhm.
This means to set limits for yourself, for your ego. Uh, People should also learn where to stop so as to protect themselves from self-sacrifice. This means that you should keep your ego defenses, your healthy egoism, the so-called healthy egoism, which means that you should not be so devoted to anyone who is different from you. Of course, it's difficult to say that for a mother like you,
Yeah.
because when you have a child, it's not separate from you. Actually, mothers perceive their children as their extensions.
Yes.
they perceive their children as themselves, as part of themselves. So it's different.
While they're younger, later on, I think there
yeah,
should be boundaries again.
yeah. Later on, you'll have boundaries, but now maybe it's too early.
Yeah.
Before 3, it's too early for any boundaries. So this is one of the ways to be compassionate and empathetic to your surrounding, but still set limits for yourself. Otherwise, illusions and consequent disillusionment may be the result in your relationships, and also escapist tendencies such as abuse of alcohol, drugs, medication, also food. Also,
even food abuse is also Neptune.
use, and also people, addiction to people, because to be addicted to someone is similar to if you're addicted to a stuff, to a substance.
Yeah, because you feel like you can't do it on your own. You're not strong enough. You need that thing. It's a crutch, and it's you. Just like you said, you feel like you need to be. You can't take care of yourself alone, so you need something or someone to help you.
And to feel whole.
Yeah.
Complete. Otherwise, you don't feel complete. That's how exactly Neptune works. It makes you feel unworthy and incomplete.
Incomplete.
And particularly, this is particularly true for addictions. If Neptune, let's say, is conjunct your Sun or your Moon or your Venus or Mars, or if you have ascendant in Pisces.
Pisces.
It's almost the same as having Neptune conjunct your ascendant. Also, a remedy is to devote time and care to disadvantaged people, for example, ill or isolated people, for example, people in hospitals, hospitalized people, or imprisoned people, or
maybe that's why in AA, when you go to AA, when you're trying to stop drinking, if you have an addiction, or a Narcotic Anonymous, they tell you start helping others with such problem. Obviously, they're tapping into, because Neptune is addiction, but Neptune is also the remedy for addiction, which is by being charitable to those in need. So you're saying if someone has some addictions, it's a good thing for them to go help others
who have similar or different problem from them, but who are some disadvantaged in some way, who are
weaker, who really need your support, not like someone who is thinking they're weak, because you might say, oh, I'm helping my lover, you know, they need me.
That's not it.
But they're just milking you and taking your money or whatever, or just making you feel sorry for them and manipulating you.
Yeah, of course, but if your lover, let's say, is addicted or is weak in some way, it's a good idea to help him. It's also can be a remedy for Neptune. You can also help migrants. It's also
immigrants, immigrants,
immigrants or emigrants. Migrants, because in no matter if they go out or go in the country,
who are dislodged from their place of birth originally, kind of,
and also representatives of some marginal or unprivileged groups in society. Let's say some representatives of ethnic group, a minority, or something.
Is that why when there was the big Neptune square, Neptune was opposite square Saturn and opposite Jupiter last year, the huge migrant wave in Europe happened because Neptune was challenged, and that's what happened with immigrants, isn't it, last year?
Yeah, that's one of my explanations, actually, because there were 10 aspects of Neptune, and it's usually, not usually, but it's possible to have migrant waves when we have 10 aspects from Neptune in transit.
Yeah, because there are always some migrants, but this time it created a crisis because of those tense aspects. And as you said, Neptune dissolved Saturn with the square, and Saturn is boundaries, and Saturn is frontiers. So it kind of dissolved a lot of frontiers there in a more stressful way, though. Anyway, sorry.
It's worth observing the process and what would be the next phase and the next aspects of Neptune to other transiting planets, and to see how this process will develop, because most of the world is interested and feels somehow maybe threatened or somehow maybe excited about this process. So it's worth observing it and discuss it. Continue this discussion on the immigrant.
I think that by 2025, a lot of, while Neptune is in Pisces, a lot of boundaries will still be solved. I think between countries, it will be easier and easier to travel because Neptune is so strong in Pisces, and Pisces is boundaryless. It's without frontiers. And I believe by the end, I think maybe in the Americas you can travel, or even maybe, who knows, there might not be longer visas in the States. But that's, we have another 10 years, guys, to see. But something like that will be happening, I think.
I think so. Another remedy is that you may decide to study medicine or pharmacy, or to become a physician or a nurse. Maybe
to deal drugs, so you don't do them yourself.
yeah, of course. Yeah, and you can learn or practice psychology or any spiritual subject or practices, and that's a good way to remediate Neptune also, whatever its position and aspects. Also, you can try to develop and practice your creative and artistic talents, if you feel you have any, such as drawing, dancing, singing, playing an instrument, acting. Stage acting, I mean. So it's also a good way to remediate Neptune, including, for example, you can exercise sports ruled by Neptune, such as water sports, yoga.
Okay, yeah, because yoga is more spiritual as well.
Yeah, and meditation.
And slow and mellow, yeah.
But just watch for and be careful with water, especially if your Neptune is in the 8th house in the natal chart, and especially if if it rules the 8th house and at the same time is in your 4th house.
Drowning.
Then you are at risk of let's say getting drowned. So you'd better avoid practicing any water sports then.
Because 8th house is how we die, and the 4th house, if you said if Neptune is in the 8th house, so if Neptune is the ruler of the 8th, is in the 4th, because 4th is the end as well, isn't it?
Yeah. Usually when but I don't think that it's a good idea to talk about that now. But usually when we have the rulers of our 4th and 8th, 12th and 8th houses in the 4th house, that's very indicative of the way we die. So if we have a Neptune in the 8th house, or if it's the ruler of the 8th house or the 12th house and is in the 4th house, then we should be careful with water. That's what I recommend. Also, we can, if we cannot help with water, I mean, if we cannot remediate Neptune with water, we can practice Neptunian businesses, particularly if Neptune is in the second house, such as, let's say, production or trade of medication or alcohol, such as such as dealing in some way with art and cinema industry or music industry. All these Neptunian activities, if we practice, we can earn from them. Then we can remediate our Neptune in the second house.
Instead of losing money, we should put money in Neptune things. Also, Neptune rules plastics, maybe the fashion industry as well, beauty, kind of when you make yourself glamorous and put an illusion around yourself.
Yeah, that's also, it's related to arts and fine arts also.
Gas. Neptune rules gas as well, isn't it?
Yeah, also gas.
Yeah, so petrol, plastics, yeah.
But it's it depends. Pluto is sometimes considered the ruler of
petrol.
Yes.
Because you dig it from under the earth, Pluto. You dig it from under the earth as well, Pluto.
Under the earth. So that's why we cannot be. We can also, because Neptune rules liquids. So everything liquid, we can trade with liquids in any, even water. You can trade with water. It's also a way to remediate your Neptune in the second house.
I remember I saw the horoscope of a very rich person who had Neptune in the second house, and I asked him, how did you make your money? And he said that he created desalination stations. Desalination is where you get seawater and turn it into normal water. And that's what, because I was like, with this Neptune, you must be losing money. He was like, he was doing exactly Neptunian business, and that's why it made him money.
Yeah, and also people may decide to wear clothes of Neptune colors.
Isn't that Neptune color?
If it's sea green.
That's why I put it on. Yeah.
I'm not sure it's a sea green, but yes, it is. So
it is sea green. Yeah. That's why I wore it. I said I'm tapping into Neptune's energy.
I was just about to ask, because our topic is about Neptune.
Yeah, exactly. And I even put my dragonfly earrings, which also are probably Neptune, ruled by water.
That's one of the colors. And also lavender.
Lavender, sea green. Okay.
Yeah, also mauve, and also smoke blue color.
Smoke?
Smoke blue.
Smoky blue. Okay.
Smoke blue, it's darker blue, but it's smoked. I mean, it's between gray and blue.
Okay. I'm just checking it.
And also you can write down some useful affirmations, another way to remediate.
Yes. What are they?
Yeah.
Take your pen and paper, guys, and write those. If you have Neptune problems like addictions, like lack of boundaries, being always being conned or misled, if you're having Neptune transits, do all those things.
Yeah. You can write down the following and read it and repeat it anytime you do not feel very well during an activated Neptune influence. For example, write down, I set limits for myself and I know where to stop.
And that's for me. I totally don't know. I'm writing them down.
Specify in writing, but you should specify in writing your limits for stuff and people that you have a problem with. For example, I have a problem with eating too much pizza, let's say. Okay. Or I have a problem with identifying myself I have a problem with being dependent on my husband, let's say, or being dependent on some drug or anything, alcohol.
Or I feel victim of some circumstance, and I can't get. I believe I'll always be stuck in that circumstance. I can't get myself out of it. I'm like a victim of circumstances.
Yeah, but if you write down, I set limits for myself, and I know where to stop with whatever blanks. I mean, you should just write it down, and you repeat it. You see that in let's say a month, or even maybe even 6 months is would be more proper to say, because any habit may be changed within 6 months. If you repeat it for 6 months, you'll get really good results.
Really, I'm going to start doing that, because I totally have Neptune problems.
Yeah.
With boundaries and letting people in, and
Another good affirmation is write down, I should first help for myself in order to help other people.
Oh, yes.
Because if you cannot help yourself, there's no way to help anybody else.
Wow.
You could be efficient in your help only if you first help yourself.
Yeah, if you are a drunkard yourself, you can go help other drunk people.
Yeah. But if you are an ex alcoholic, although people say there is no ex, but if you're an ex addict, I mean, you do not abuse substance anymore. You can go and help other people. But while you are taking drugs, you cannot help.
No. Oh, it would be the same if you're in a codependent relationship where you are the victim and stuff. You need to get yourself out if you want to do any good for anyone else. Yeah.
Yes. And the third affirmation is, I know who I am. And when you write down, I know who I am, you should write down 10 things that define your bright side, your personality characteristics that you find good. And you also should write down your dark side through also 10 things. Dark side, I mean 10 of your personality characteristics that you don't like about yourself.
So you don't just stay on the positive and imagine yourself perfect, but you're realistic about it.
Yeah, you should try to be realistic about your positives and negatives. And write down 10 of positives and 10 negatives. And then you should try to stick to the bright side when you read and repeat, and to accept and change the dark side, of course.
Accept it, yeah. Accept.
But if you are, perhaps if you are self-aware, I mean, if you go on the way of self-awareness and self-understanding, then you could be objective about yourself. Otherwise, there is no way to know which are your negative characteristics and your dark side. So you should first dig into this.
Maybe even ask people who know you well.
Sorry?
Maybe even ask people who know you well.
Yeah, that's a very good, what you say, that's one of the ways to handle this and to know more about yourself, to ask people who mirror you, and to know yourself better. That's why therapeutic groups, psychotherapeutic groups are very good. Not individual consultations, but therapy in groups, because people exchange experience and give feedback to one another.
Like many mirrors from different angles.
so you can get to know yourself better. And another affirmation, write down: I keep my feet firmly on the ground, and I check reality on a daily basis, which is very difficult for Neptunian, for people who experience difficult Neptunian influences, or who have a difficult Neptunian position in their natal chart.
Yeah, I remember when I was having Neptune opposition Moon. This is such a strong aspect. Totally, I could not say no to anyone. I would go and do whatever anyone asked me to do. And I was like, and there was people were saying, "Oh, you're so innocent, you're so naive." You can't, almost like you trust everyone. You have this naivety, and you do become like a child. It's true. And I even started taking essence oils, Century or something that teaches you how to flower back essence. That teaches you. I think it was called Century, and it gives you the ability to say no, because I just could not. I mean, I would not go on dates because I was afraid that I can't say no. So I would stay at home because I knew I was like I didn't have a backbone, you know.
Yeah. And I can also recommend aroma and flower therapy.
Flower, yeah.
To aroma. They are not flowers, but yeah, it's aromatherapy for Neptune, difficult Neptune's influences. One of them is clematis.
Clematis, I think that was the one.
Yeah. Clematis, maybe. Clematis therapy is good if you have a tendency to live in your own dream world with little interest in the real world. And the other one is agrimony.
Agrimony.
Agrimony, yes. Agrimony therapy is good for those who often hide their worries by sense of humor, or who escape reality through drugs, alcohol, or other psychoactive substances.
Yeah.
Or not only psychoactive substances, they may be food. You can escape reality even through food, or through being in love with someone.
So these are drops that you take under your tongue once or twice a day. So it's true, I was using Century. It's spelled C-E-N-Tory. Century. It's for people who find it difficult to say no to others. That was my biggest problem during Neptune transit. And it really, Centuries are kind, gentle souls who like to help, but sometimes others, more ruthless people, take advantage of this. And instead of being a willing servant, the Century person ends up the slave of another's wishes. That was what was happening during my Neptune transit. I just, I was being very naive and very trusting, and would agree to everything. And it basically allows you to say no. So that's another one. So agrimony, Century, and what did you say? The other one was? Clematis.
Or clematis. I'm not sure how it is proper to say. And some a summary of what should we watch for during a difficult Neptune transit. As Neptune transits each house, we should watch for the affairs ruled by that house where Neptune transits, and be careful not to fall prey to illusions and subtle losses in the matters ruled by matters for that house. Perhaps we are not wrong about an idea or a person, but we have no way to know until the transit is over.
Mm-hmm. So it's not going to be shown to us while we're in the middle of the transit.
We would better wait until the end of the transit. Instead of taking important life decisions, it's not a good time. Neptune transits, when they are difficult, when there are hard aspects to our personal planets, are not a good time to take important life decisions and to make permanent commitments.
Yes, usually you can't keep them, or things turn out to be very different than what you were thinking they would be. By the way, I want to mention, guys, if you want to know whether you're going to have difficult Neptune transits, my birth chart calculator gives you a transit hit list. Go to my website, astrolada.com, go to the planetary birth chart calculator with transits, and put your details. And then once you have the chart, scroll below. There is a transit hit list for the next 3 years, what transits you're going to have. And if you happen to see Neptune transit the 10th house, Neptune transit ascendant, or Neptune transit Venus, all this is so important for you, what we are saying, that keep it in mind and apply it if you don't want to suffer losses. Sorry for interrupting.
Oh, no problem. Let's proceed with the so we should not make any important life decisions and permanent commitments in the domain ruled by the transited planet and house.
Say if Neptune is transiting your Venus and Venus rules the 8th house.
Yeah.
You shouldn't make commitments with your mutual resources and finances, for example.
With joint finances, with loans and credits, you'd better not take any important decisions in this regard, and not make permanent commitments. If Neptune transits the cusp of a house at plus or minus 1 degree of the cusp, we should be particularly careful about the matters of that house and the previous one, where Neptune is. For example, Neptune is on the cusp of our 6th house. We should watch for health and work, but also we should watch for the matters of the previous house, the 5th house, for love, romance, children, speculation.
Why is that? Why both? Because Neptune moves before.
Because Neptune is on the cusp of one of the houses, of the 6th house, let's say. Then it's usually because it moves very slowly, and then it goes back in retrograde motion and goes back to the previous house, usually. It's almost impossible when Neptune or Pluto, because it's even slower, when they are on the cusp of a house, not to go back to the previous house.
So revise,
we should usually consider, particularly when the retrograde motion is, we should consider the matters of both houses, but not only the house on which cusp is Neptune. And usually, it goes in your 6th house, then goes back to your 5th house, then goes again 4th in your 6th house.
Yes.
And this movement maybe you can have even 2 or 3 retrograde motions, but it's more about Pluto. Anyway, it happens also for Neptune. So we should be careful all of that period for the matters of houses. And if Neptune has difficult aspects in transit, I talk about Neptune. If it has difficult aspects,
go.
Give us.
Sorry.
Sorry, the baby.
No, the dog.
The dog.
I'm not gonna say to the baby, go away, go away. Sorry, sorry for interrupting.
No problem. So if Neptune has difficult aspects in transit to planets that give us ego drives, such as Sun, Mars, and Saturn, we may become fearful, insecure, and anxious. So it's important to have that in mind. And also, as Neptune transits each of the planets, we can expect matters ruled by the planet's energies to become confused or idealized. For example, if Neptune is conjunct our Venus, we tend to idealize our lover or tend to become detached from material values. It's
Oh,
also
so you're lost in love and totally lost with money.
yeah, that's why usually people say you have both or none of them.
Yes, you're right. So we dream for
Yeah.
someone who is married, usually someone we can't have with Neptune, uh, and or idealize someone that is like everyone else thinks the total loser, and at the same time you spend your money on them. So wow, what a winning combination. But you know,
And
my brother got divorced during Neptune transit to his wife. He lost his wife, but he met a soulmate. So the high manifestation of Neptune transit Venus is meeting a soulmate if you're ready. And he met amazing woman, like they met each other. And that's exactly when Neptune was transiting his Venus for the 5th time, the last time. So it was like a 2-year transit. The first year he got divorced. The second year, they just sat on the same table. They touched each other's hands by mistake. And they both said they felt like they flew. Waves of love came on both of them. And they looked at each other and they knew, even though they just met, and they knew they're gonna be together. So sometimes Neptune can do even such amazing stuff. So
yeah, it could be really amazing. And now let's proceed with some tips that are more definite about for natal and transiting Neptune in each house.
perfect.
Most
Yes.
many people want to know more about each house of the 12 houses, and about Neptune's hard aspects to planets. For example, Neptune, if you have a natal or transiting Neptune in the 1st house, keep in mind that it's similar to have Neptune in hard aspect to Mars. For example, in opposition to Mars, or conjunction or square Mars, or it's similar also to Neptune conjunct ascendant. Although Neptune conjunct ascendant is stronger than Neptune in the 1st house. Generally, tips here, my tips here are that you should take any effort to know yourself better and try to show your true self to others, because people with Neptune and the 1st house usually tend to have a chameleon-like behavior, and they do not usually project their
True
true
self.
self to the other people, and they usually behave in a different way in different situations. So it's very difficult to say who you are, and people get confused. And usually, as you deceive people, even though you are not you do it unconsciously, if you hide yourself, you confuse people, and they respond to you in the same deceitful way.
So you send them mixed signals and they start playing with you as well, because they're not sure what you really are trying to project, and they start also deceiving you and playing with you.
Although they do not do it deliberately, but
It's like a mirror. Yeah.
If you don't, they don't know you well, they just respond to what they see, but not to your true self. So try to be yourself in that case. Also, you should try to set limits to your identity so as to avoid becoming dependent on others and others becoming dependent on you.
They might also want to make others dependent on them. Yeah.
Because it's the first 7th house axis.
Yeah, Neptune aspects the 7th house.
Yeah. So you should also try to avoid getting involved in too idealistic projects, causes, schemes, or love affairs, and that have little ground in reality. And that's a good way to avoid disappointment. And it's
I have a friend who has Neptune conjunct the ascendant, and she knows when she goes for she sees that the person is wrong, and she can't help herself. she sees like that, you know, this is the wrong person. So what she did to save herself from going to a really bad relationship, she relocated to a different country. That's what saved her. Otherwise, she said, if I was there, I was gonna be with him, and he was gonna ruin my life, because I know he's the wrong one, but I could not say no. I
Yeah.
was so mesmerized, and I was in this, she said, like, I was in this, and she had Neptune square the ascendant by transit. So it was triggering that Neptune conjunct ascendant and the seventh house opposition. So Neptune was carrying, and one way to deal, I would say, is also to relocate overseas or something like that.
Uh-huh.
Connected to such things, and that's what saved her, or else, you know.
Yeah, that's also, yeah. She escaped that way.
Escape, yeah, Neptune, she escaped.
She solved her problem by escaping in that case.
Yeah,
But
and
option, of course, if she couldn't say no, that's
she
also an
knew
option.
he was the wrong person, like, she, but just said, I was so in love, and I cannot, like, I know I'm in an illusion. And she said, I was so afraid that in a few years I would wake up and I would be totally miserable with this person, so she ran away.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And also,
very Neptunian, running away.
uh-huh. And it's also, I would recommend to express your true self if you have a Neptune in the first house, to express your true self, needs and feelings, let's say through arts, such as I said already, music, let's say singing, dancing, playing an instrument, or through acting, through sports and activities such as swimming and yoga. That's also a good option, because people with Neptune in the first house are sometimes really confused about who they are. So they should find a way to express themselves, to find, to make it easy to understand who they are. If they express themselves through arts, because most of these people with Neptune in the first house are usually usually talented and have some talent in arts, and that's a good way to remediate the
Yes.
Neptune's position there. Um,
And to
Neptune in
stay
the
away from drugs. They should stay away from drugs, and they're very
yeah,
sensitive to such things. So
from Acta, especially when Neptune is conjunct ascendant.
yes.
But Neptune's in the first house, it's not common, not so common, at least my observations show that it's not so common to have tendencies towards addictions to, let's say, drugs or alcohol. Here, the problem is more with the ego, the identity,
Mm-hmm.
and the
You mean by
and
when Neptune is in the first house by transit?
and also by transit.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you just should find a way to discriminate between yourself and the other, the first one, to set limits for your ego, for your identity, and to find who you are exactly, your individuality, to set limits, to say, this is me, it's me here, and
Yes.
I'm up to here, and from here on it's you. We are
Mm-hmm.
not, we may be we may love each other, we may be devoted to each other, we can make everything to each other, but we are separate individuals.
Yes.
That we can have common future, joint finances, anything. Still, we are separate individuals. We are not
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
two halves making
One. We
an
don't complete
entity.
each other.
Yeah, we are just separate individuals who can watch in one direction, do everything together, but we are still separate and independent in
Mm-hmm.
this way, in some way. So that's about the Neptune in the first house.
Yeah, and also Neptune transit Mars, people should be careful not to mislead others with their actions. to promise things and then go and do something else. And others can do the same to them. They can say things and you can be saying one thing and your actions might be doing another thing. You can be shifty and hidden with your actions in some way.
Yeah, it's also, if we are talking about, because I'm talking more about Neptune in the first house.
Yeah.
But we talk about Neptune in hard aspect to Mars, let's say Neptune square Mars, then people may have problems with their self-esteem. They may feel really discouraged, easily discouraged, and or unworthy. But it's also related to their self-esteem, to their identity, ego identity, and the limits they set for themselves. So that's the most important. Set limits for yourself and try to express your true self, not the chameleon-like behavior. Let people know you better so that they could respond accordingly and not deceitfully. Neptune in the second house. My tips here, it's perhaps Neptune in the second house is similar to Neptune in hard aspects to Venus, but not the same, but similar. Here, Neptune, your attitude to material values with Neptune in the second house, to income and possessions, may be somehow detached. You may not care a lot about how much money and possessions you have, or you may not be able to plan your financial matters. You can lose money,
invest in stupid things.
a lot money on a large scale, especially if your Neptune, let's say, is conjunct your Jupiter. It's also possible. And you may be very disappointed with money and possessions throughout life. But if other natal positions indicate your materialistic nature, then you could be very disappointed. I mean, because if you are detached from money, you wouldn't feel that as disappointment if you lose money.
Yes, but say you have strong Taurus, and for you material, or Capricorn, for you material stability, Earth, like, is important, but then you have Neptune in the second and you keep losing money or investing in the wrong way or not being able to manage them well, and then you feel very disappointed. Okay. And actually, if you feel detached towards money, Neptune can magically bring money to you in the second house, almost like with the least resistance, without effort somehow.
Yeah, sometimes it's possible. So even you can have so much money that you can count them.
You cannot count them. Yeah. Boundless like the ocean. Yeah, Neptune can give that.
You can have boundless resources, financial resources with Neptune in the second house. But
it's going to transit my sector.
You can lose these resources.
Yeah. Oh.
And usually you can lose these resources due to someone else. I mean, for example, someone close to you who somehow steals from you or takes or you invest in, let's say, your lover's business or something like that. That's how Neptune in the second house may work. But here are my tips. If you identify yourself with your income and possessions, then you should certainly change your attitudes towards material values and become more detached about material values, as you tend to make costly mistakes in life if you have Neptune in the second house. Anyway.
Or by transit, yeah.
Yeah, or by transit. You should avoid risky and underhanded schemes. If you gamble, you should gamble for fun, not to win. You should be ready to lose. Otherwise, you may be disappointed, of course. And you can remediate this placement of Neptune in the second house, both natal and transit, if your income comes from helping professions, let's say in the field of medicine, psychology, social work, or from businesses related to some Neptunian activity, such as singing, dancing, acting, playing an instrument, yoga, meditation, swimming, doing pharmaceutical or marine business. Even here, we forgot to I
Yeah.
forgot about the marine business before that. And business is also related to liquids, as I already mentioned.
I'm going to
So,
start selling wine when Neptune enters my second house in 2 years.
yeah, you can say wine, or you can say also perfumes.
Ah, Neptune, yeah, illusion. Or I can work with psychics more.
Perhaps.
Hmm.
And Neptune in the third house.
Carry on, I'll come in 2-3 minutes. You carry on, I'm gonna go check on the baby, but you continue without me. Is it okay?
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
yeah, talk to people.
So I'll continue with the Neptune in the third house, which is similar to Neptune in hard aspects to Mercury. Your creative imagination may be very well developed with this placement of Neptune, and you may be very maybe highly concerned with metaphysical and spiritual studies. You may have some latent psychic abilities. You may often lose grasp of reality and truth, and you may often discover that what you thought was true is not true, actually. Um, you tend to daydream also, especially at school age, and you might even have had problems with your attention and concentration as back as your school age, and that's why my tips here are that you should be very careful about how you communicate with each other, especially with your neighbors and relatives, because the third house rules neighbors and relatives, and the brothers, sisters, and uncles, cousins also. Try to be as clear as possible, as misunderstandings are likely in your communication with the relatives and neighbors. And before you negotiate or sign a contract, make sure that you have consulted an expert, for example, a lawyer or a professional mediator. Be careful and patient when taking important decisions. Avoid taking hasty decisions, as they may often turn out wrong. And work on keeping in touch with reality in your daily life. All that's very important for having when you have a Neptune in the third house. And if your Neptune is in the fourth house by transit or in your natal chart, it is similar to having Neptune in hard aspects to the moon. This is one of the most difficult placements for Neptune, because you may have difficult communications with your parents due to a number of reasons. For example, you may idealize one of your parents, or one of your parents might have been sick or unavailable in some way. For example, they might have been hospitalized or imprisoned, or they might have died when you were very young. They might have traveling too often, might have had problems with alcohol, drugs, or unfaithfulness to one another. You may immigrate and live abroad with such placement with Neptune, or even be homeless or moving from one place to from place to a place. You may work very hard to make your home an ideal place. And my tips for remediate Neptune in the fourth house are the following. For example, if someone has a natal or a transiting Neptune here in the fourth house, and if they meet problems in their close relationships, I would strongly recommend going to individual or group psychotherapy to work on family issues from childhood. The thing is that you should become more down to earth about family issues and parental figures in your life. For example, if one of your parents was missing in some way and you idealize or blame them, you should try to recognize and integrate their true personality and find a way to forgive them. Forgiveness is very important, and you're here.
Mm-hmm. Well, is that Neptune in the fourth?
Yeah, I'm talking about Neptune in the fourth. That it's very important. It's one of the most difficult placements for Neptune in the birth chart. So individual or group psychotherapy is strongly recommended here because you can have different problems in communications with your parents or one of your parents or both. Of course, maybe weak in some way or ill, including mentally ill or addicted. So you can move from place to place, whatever. I already mentioned all this. And I'm talking about the tips that we should try to recognize and integrate parental true personality and find a way to forgive them so that we can continue our life and we can keep healthy relationships. If we don't forgive our parents,
We can blame them all life for our mistakes.
We can keep our relationships healthy. I mean, not only with our parents, but also with our intimate partners.
So in the family, yeah.
Yeah, forgiveness is very important. And that's a way to enhance our intimate relationships. I mean, that's why it's important to work, to continuously work on Neptune on the fourth house. When it transits our fourth house, or especially when we have a Neptune in the natal Neptune in the fourth house.
I would also say that people can feel better living by water. Neptune is the ocean. Live by the ocean.
Way to remediate. It's a way to remediate. And also, if you move from home to home, or if you change places, or if you try to make your home, to improve your home, continuously improve your home and make it more and more beautiful, or also expanding it, or traveling abroad, finding your home abroad.
In a faraway country. Yeah.
In another country, an immigration, it's also a way to remediate.
Or put colors like that, the Neptune colors around your house.
Yeah, you can have the Neptune colors around your house. Yeah, it's also a solution. Yeah. And Neptune in the fifth house, it may be similar to Neptune in hard aspects to the sun. Also, there is I must say there is more difference when we have Neptune in hard aspect to the sun and Neptune in the fifth house. The difference is not so small. But with Neptune in the fifth house, you tend to be very romantic and highly idealistic in love. Your creativity and imagination is strongly developed and stimulated. You tend to idealize your partner, lover, and children as they are, and you feel like they are gods, your lover and children.
And then you get disappointed.
Yeah, of course. If you have illusions, you are always disappointed, even if it's later. You may have very high expectations to your partner and children also. and hence you may, of course, get disappointed in love. Otherwise, someone may take you for a savior. For example, your lover may be an alcoholic or a drug addict or a gambler, or you may be strongly inclined to addictions to people and stuff. Here, it's with particularly valid with Neptune in the fifth house or in hard aspects to the sun, especially conjunction to the sun. And to have a union of the souls may be more important to you than having a sexual satisfaction with this placement of Neptune. A way to remediate this position of Neptune is to adopt a child. Or it's often to have a, let's say, child that has some illness, although it's not, of course, always the case, but it's possible to have a child that has some serious illness, mental or physical, no matter. So my tips here to remediate this placement of Neptune, that you should try to find a constructive outlet for your creative imagination through artistic activities and creative self-expression, let's say writing poetry, fine arts, music again. Otherwise, addictive and escapist tendencies are very likely. Better here, I would recommend strongly that you would better avoid drugs, alcohol, and gambling with Neptune in the fifth house, as you are likely to get addicted or lose a lot of money with this placement, or with Neptune conjunct Sun. And because, you know, Neptune doesn't know limits. You'd better don't make things and use substances that are addictive.
Because you tend to enjoy them a lot as well. The fifth house is things that you really love and enjoy.
That's one of the problems, that you enjoy them. And enjoying them leads you to becoming addictive because you enjoy them so much. Neptune in the sixth house may be similar to Neptune in hard aspects to Mercury. And my tips here, because the sixth house is the house of work and health, are first, be very careful with your health. Take regular medical examinations, and better take a second medical opinion to make sure of your health conditions.
Usually, even the person can have illnesses that are not easy to diagnose. They're hidden.
Yeah,
they're kind of
illnesses with Neptune in the sixth house. Your illnesses and diagnoses may often be unclear or incorrect. So always take second opinion from a physician. Second opinion from physician.
Someone I read someone wrote earlier that they said I have Neptune in the sixth house and I have to do everything with a timer, because sixth house is how you take care of your daily responsibilities, duties, your everyday life. So you might be very kind of always late for stuff, always late for work, always like there is no boundaries, because sixth house is to be efficient, to be structured, to be organized, which is the sixth house. And with Neptune, this is dissolved, so they might find it very hard to organize themselves, to follow deadlines with work, to do the things that to keep track, of their work as well. So
that's true. That's true, and I can say that because my Neptune is the sixth house, it was very difficult for me when I was younger. To get organized, to make all these things that I had to do on time, and even now sometimes I'm late, and that's absolutely true. But still, I'm a psychologist, so that's a way to remediate my Neptune in the sixth house, because it's work. I'm working as my work is psychological. So I can remediate this position very well lately, and combined
And
with it,
your work is Neptunian, helping others.
yeah, I'm Neptunian, so it's not so. I really get better organized lately. I mean, for let's say 15 years now.
Yeah. So there is a way
It
to overcome it. You shouldn't be.
still it's usually the case with my diagnosis. Since I was a little, very little child, I almost ever got wrong diagnosis.
Really? Wow, that sucks.
Yeah, really, really interesting. And even I was 2 times I was absolute curious, absolute what was the enigma for the medicine, because
Uh-huh.
I was diagnosed 2 times with a kind of, oh, I don't remember the name, rubella.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, what was the name for them when you have spots all over your body?
Okay,
Uh,
mumps or something. No,
yeah,
the measles, the measles. Yeah.
yeah, because you have
Chicken pox.
you can spend it only once. You cannot be ill twice. You cannot have rubella twice in your life.
Yeah.
What was the name of the
Chicken pox.
exact? Sorry,
Chicken pox. It's known as chicken pox. You
chicken
can't have.
pox. Okay, you can have it twice, but I was diagnosed twice. That's why just one of the cases.
Yeah.
There are any other example for incorrect diagnosis in my case. So I recommend strongly to look for to seek out at least second opinion of a physician in with having, if you have Neptune in your sixth house. Also, you'd better avoid eating fish and seafood, as you may become allergic.
Wow, my little brother is allergic. He has Neptune in the sixth house, and
Yeah,
he is allergic. A lot of allergic reactions appear, and they don't know what's coming from, but it might be from seafood. That's
yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I can eat, for example, me, I can eat seafood, and many other clients, my clients who have Neptune in their sixth house, but they somehow avoid eating seafood, not because that they know that their Neptune is in the sixth house,
Almost
but because,
intuitively.
yeah, intuitively, and because they don't feel they feel their stomach heavy, and they don't feel very well after eating seafood.
Hmm.
So better avoid seafood. Be careful also of diseases caused by toxins and poisons in your body, including here alcohol, drugs, and medications.
They're very sensitive to those.
Yeah, very sensitive. Having a Neptune in the sixth house, people are very sensitive to alcohol, drugs, and medications.
I would say even like a painkiller can give them side effects that no one else would get,
Yeah, for
like ibuprofen or something.
mm-hmm. Many people having Neptune in the sixth house are such hangovers on the next day after having a number of drinks that they cannot do almost anything the day after.
Oh, I know. My little brother got
Yeah,
drunk once, and he stayed 2 days in bed after that. And after that, he never drank. He was like, "That's it for me." But I also noticed when Neptune was transiting the sixth house of my ex-partner, he had like 3 planets there, and at work, because sixth house is work, they kept promising him different new positions, better ones, and they never gave them to him.
mm,
Appointed for 3-4 years. Like they'll talk him up, yes, we're giving you a new position, da, 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 and they'll mislead him and they'll not give them to him. So it's, yeah, it can play out like that as well, Neptune in the.
yeah, it could play like that. And also, you should avoid following diets blindly, as they may deprive your organism of vitamins and
Neptune.
microelements necessary for your health. because your body is sensitive. It's just sensitive. Work to serve other people more than to serve purely egoistical interests, and you are more likely to advance and benefit from your work. It's very important
Yes.
for sixth house Neptune. Engagement in social services and helping professions is recommended. Working with disadvantaged people, again, at the hospital, let's say at an asylum, at a prison, and at some other institutions. It can be a very good remedy for Neptune in the sixth. Be as careful, as clear as possible, and honest in your communication with employers and with employees. And try to express, because the sixth house rules also employees and employers, and try to express your creativity and enjoy your work to take the most advantage of this placement.
So introduce some creativity into your work. Or maybe I remember talking with Nikola Stojanovic, and he said, get an office next to the ocean. Work in an office next to the ocean. It can remedy that. Or put some water feature in your office.
Yeah, it's also a good idea. If your office is next to the ocean or to some lake or to the sea, it doesn't matter. Okay, and Neptune in the seventh house, it may be similar, of course, to Neptune in the hard aspects to Venus, and Neptune opposition ascendant. Of course, your one-to-one relationships here are affected, including intimate and business relationships, and they may be unclear and deceptive in some way, both with transiting and with natal Neptune. Your intimate partner may be unfaithful, may be sick, weak, unavailable in some way, or addicted. Your business partners may be dishonest with you, but you are not likely to know the truth until Neptune goes out of the seventh house. Be careful with the business partner.
And it kind of hits you like a ton of brick, because you might have spent, say, Neptune was transiting your seventh house for 10 years or 14 years, and then you realize that your partner is a totally different person and you never knew them realistically. And you realize, you'll be like, who is this person? But actually you're the one who was deluding yourself.
Yeah. If in transit, you are more likely to see the truth when Neptune, I already said that, when it's going out of the seventh house, or when it makes an important aspect to another planet, such as Saturn. Your clients, because clients are also ruled by the seventh house, your clients and the people whom you consult, such as lawyers, may elude you in some way. So my tips here: try to be as straightforward in communication with your intimate and business partners as possible. Be careful with any intimate and business relationships. Make sure your partner is honest with you, and avoid playing the role of either the savior or the victim in your marriage or long-term intimate relationship. Avoid dealing with consultants, lawyers, and lawsuits, as you are not likely to be successful most of the time. Neptune is transiting the seventh house, or if your natal Neptune is in the seventh house.
Then do it for life. Avoid those things.
Yeah, of course, you should avoid lawsuits for life, unfortunately, if you're Neptune, because you are not likely to be successful. Of course, it doesn't mean that it would be all the time, they won't be successful, but most of the time they won't be. And be careful with your clients, and make sure that there is not communication between you, if you have clients. So that's my these are my tips for the 7th house. Neptune in the 8th house, maybe similar to Neptune, having Neptune in hard aspects to Pluto. My tips here are to devote some time and attention to understanding yourself and the hidden side of life better. And psychotherapy is strongly recommended with this placement of Neptune, because it is not similarly to Neptune in the 4th house. It is not among the best placements for Neptune, having Neptune in the 8th house.
You might be often unclear about your deeper motivations with Neptune in the 8th house, and you have to explore what these are.
Yeah, but you can, what's very good for this placement, what's positive about this placement, that it might be very enlightening as an influence, and very transforming for the self, and for getting to know yourself better, for reaching a really very high level of self-awareness and consciousness. That's good for this. But we are talking about the negative influence of Neptune in the 8th house, and what to remediate in order to escape this negative influence, to solve your problems. I recommend strongly psychotherapy here with this placement in the 8th house. Otherwise, you may decide to study or practice some psychic or occult discipline, let's say numerology or tarot. It's a go-to way to remediate this placement. You should be, I also already mentioned about being careful with while swimming, having drugs and alcohol while in water, and about swimming
in particular.
Sorry?
In particular, yeah.
Yeah, in particular. Still, you should work on your fears if you experience some kind of a phobia from water, from also liquids and the like. It would be easier with Neptune in the 8th house to work on such phobias. Also, it's common to have such phobias with Neptune in the 8th house. Be careful with joint finances with this placement, with other people's money, including partners' money and bank loans. If you need money, better avoid bank loans, but borrow small amounts from friends instead of taking bank loans. So that's for Neptune in the 8th house. Neptune in the 9th house, it's similar to Neptune in hard aspect to Jupiter. And my tips here are to, you should try to be as tolerant and open-minded to different viewpoints and ideas as possible. And you will finally get to the idea that everything
is one.
Really is one in the universe.
Exactly.
Exactly. Try to travel as much as possible around the world and get to know different cultures and viewpoints. You may feel much better in dealings with international affairs. And you'd better deal with international affairs with this position. Try to work and live in a multicultural environment, and you may become a real cosmopolitan. So it's one of the
nicer.
Neptune, in the 9th house is one of the easiest and placements for Neptune. Whether it's in the natal chart or by transit. That's about Neptune in the 9th house. And Neptune in the 10th house is similar to Neptune in hard aspect to Saturn. My tips here, because the 10th house, the house of career and authorities and reputation and your life path, you should try to repeat to yourself that you are not what you are doing. With Neptune in the 10th house, your work should not be the purpose of your life, because it's common to be your purpose of life. You should not be so obsessed about what you are doing. You should change your whole attitude to life and your purpose in life. Your purpose should be to find your true self and to express it to the world, to get in touch with your innermost needs, and with what makes you feel good, and helpful to other people. You should try to express yourself to the others in the most possible authentic manner. Just try to be yourself. Do not deceive others, and guard against being deceived by them. It would be helpful here if you begin to study some psychic or spiritual subject, or if you do social services work with
as a career.
Yeah, or of course if you work in the field of psychology,
or
because
film
now,
industry and stuff like that, something creative.
Yeah, something creative also. For example, me, because I already told you that I have a Neptune in the 6th house, and now my Neptune transits my 10th house. And it was on the cusp of my 10th house, going back and forth on the cusp, retrograde and prograde, and then again retrograde. That was the time. It was just one of the indicators, but this was the time when my father died.
Oh, yes, the midheaven is the father, isn't it? Oh,
yeah. And Neptune, because Neptune also it means
missing a loss. Yeah, I don't think I've ever felt like I missed anyone until I had a Neptune transit. That's the only time I felt like I was missing a person, and never before did I feel that. It's strange. Yeah, you're right. Neptune is the feeling of missing.
The feeling of missing, yes. Also, and Neptune in the 11th house, which may be similar to Neptune in hard aspects to Uranus, you tend to idealize your friends and or some cause. You tend to believe that your dreams are feasible with Neptune here. And my tips here are that you should be careful whom you choose for friends, and you should not sacrifice yourself in the name of your friends. Set limits for yourself with regard to friends and informal groups, as people may deceive you or take advantage of you in some way, and you may become disillusioned and disappointed as a result, of course. It doesn't mean that you don't have very good friends.
I have Neptune in the 11th. I have fantastic friends, but I don't have boundaries with them. And my Neptune only has good aspects. My friends are always very glamorous as well. That's another thing with Neptune in the 11th. My husband was like, "Are all your friends good looking?" I'm like, I'm not choosing them for looks. They just happen to be glamorous,
Yeah, and you should make sure that both you and your friends benefit from what you are doing for each other.
Rather than it be one-sided. Yeah.
So sacrifice should not be self-sacrificing. You should try to give and receive, to have your all you do and feel is to make sure that it is requited, not unrequited.
Yeah, and I was strongly influenced by my friends. Whatever they wanted, it's like I was like a psychic gate there from my friends. Like whatever their moods are, I'll talk them up. This is Neptune. Like I couldn't see when I stop and when my friends stop. They would influence my choice of music, of clothes, and I'm still like that to this day. I have very diverse friends, and when I'm about to see some, I dress in one way. When I'm about to see others, I dress in another way, so I can kind of morph into them and kind of like a chameleon with my friends almost.
Yeah. And also, it would be helpful if you do some charity work here. Join a humanitarian cause or a movement or community work. Just make sure that your cause is worth and real with Neptune in the 11th house. That's the only caution here.
Yeah, I feel strongly pulled towards some humanitarian, charitable cause, to be honest.
Also, with Neptune in the 11th, you should be. And if you have Neptune in the 12th house, which is similar to Neptune in hard aspects to Neptune, to itself, Neptune feels at home here in the 12th house because it's its own house.
Yeah.
And the house that it naturally rules. And it's a placement of self-searching and self-reflection. When we are not satisfied with just being successful in the outer world, in our worldly tasks and material matters, we are more concerned about our inner self, about our development as individuals, as personalities. We want to feel fulfilled as inner beings, and in the world of spirit and psyche, to find our inner peace and balance. Unfortunately, with Neptune transiting Neptune in the 12th house, maybe a time of existential crisis and depression. But fortunately for people who are not psychologists, because all psychologists know that existential crisis and depression are usually very useful because people grow through crisis and depression. Yeah, they grow spiritually, they grow personally, they grow in their relationships, they grow in all aspects and all domains of life. Usually they become stronger and wiser after a crisis and after having a depression. And my tips here for Neptune in the 12th house, both natal and transiting, it's a good time for a withdrawal from the hectic pace of everyday life. You'd better take some time alone in peace for self-searching and self-reflection. It is a time to find the true meaning of your life. It will be helpful if you turn to religion or faith. You will certainly become more sensitive, intuitive, and idealistic now, and may discover some psychic abilities in you. It is helpful to study or practice psychology or other psychic subject at that time. The trick is to learn to be alone without feeling lonely.
Nice, great advice.
You can accomplish this if you learn to feel part of the whole universe. Although you alone, you are not lonely because you are part of the universe. Then you have found yourself and are connected to all human beings.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I think that's final.
Yes. People are writing. There's so much information, so much useful and amazing information here. So they're loving it. Thank you so much, Diana, for doing this for us. And guys, if you want to teach Diana is, and she has the experience of many years being a psychologist, and you can have a private reading with her. She does offer astrology readings, and you can check her profile, or you can come and attend her webinar. I'll be there as well on all about Chiron, Chiron through the houses, Chiron aspects, Chiron transits. So that will be, I'm looking forward to learn about it because I know nothing. and many people swear by it, and they say, oh my God, it's so powerful in the horoscope. So looking forward to that in September, the 7th of September, I think it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 7th of September. And just to add that Chiron is would be a very interesting webinar all about Chiron. A very interesting webinar for all those who are interested in psychology and astrology, because Chiron combines both.
Wow. Looking forward to that.
Yeah, there is so much psychological interpretation and information about Chiron and its symbology and everything. I think that it would be really interesting to people who are interested in psychology, besides
Astrology.
astrology.
Well, they're
Yeah,
so interconnected.
all connected anyway.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Diana. We'll let
Yeah.
you have a sleep there. It's late in Bulgaria already. Guys, if you want to have a reading with Dr. Diana, uh, astrological, and with the psychological profiling as well, she will she will get to the bottom of your issues. Don't worry. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And we'll do another one soon all about Pluto in about a month,
Yeah,
guys.
Remedies.
Diana will be here to give us remedies about Pluto. I'm looking forward for that because Pluto's gonna whoop my ass for the next 5 years. So I want to be prepared.
Oh,
So
yeah.
thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Lada, too. Thank you all for listening us and being with us. And see you soon.
Bye bye.